Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Lakeland High School Podcast. I'm Mr. Rolando, your host today and probably most of this semester. So welcome back. We're glad to have you here. I'm here today with the one, the only Mrs. Hollowell. How you doing, Mrs. Hollowell?
Well, how are you?
Great. I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show here today. You're welcome. Today's topic is student connections and being connected as a student and as an employee, a secretary in your case, and as a teacher in my case, and how important they are and things like that. Tell me a little bit about what you think, why you think student connections are so important.
I think being able to give students an outlet, a safe person, a safe zone for them to express themselves, to discuss things, and have a trustworthy adult in their life. I think it's really important for them in their both social and academic success during all walks of life, not necessarily just in high school, but I think it's really important for students to have somebody like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's important for students to make that connection with a teacher or a staff member or somebody along those lines, so that they feel not only connected to the school or but just somebody in their life who's helping guide them. We all know teenagers. Being a teenager is tumultuous, no matter what generation you grew up in.
Very true.
And these days, there's a lot more, social media, peer influence, yada yada yada, things like that.
Sure.
I think having a good, solid personal connection is important. Give us some examples. You were talking earlier a little bit about some examples you think of personal connections.
I have several personal connections with lots and lots of kids from different groups across the building.
Sure.
And it makes me feel connected to them and makes me feel involved in everything that they're doing.
Right.
And I think that also helps build on other relationships and connections as well. In particular, one of my personal goals for my position this year was to go out and meet additional kids that I don't typically get to see.
Right.
So, I walk on my lunch, so I enjoy, stopping somebody I haven't talked to before and, just try and get to know everybody.
Right. I know your kids went to school here.
They sure did, and so did I.
That's right. And tell us a little bit about, what are some connections that you had maybe going? Let's go back to when you were in school here for a second, which wasn't so far long ago. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to get in there. We're going to be good. Want to save my podcast here. But who do you think, are there some teachers that you had or staff members that you had connections with when you were?
Yes, in particular, Mr. Head.
Mr. Head.
I was a sophomore and it was his first year teaching. And he made it a point to get to know every one of his students and become active and involved in different programs and clubs and the things that the kids were interested in. And funny story, we had several Jennifers in that class that year, and each one of us had a different way that we wanted to be addressed. One of us was Jenny, or one of us was Jen, and the other one was Jennifer. And then when Mr. Head got to me, first day attendance, he's like, and how would you, what do you want to be called? And I was like, I don't care. He was like, okay, Steve. So forevermore, I have been Steve. And to this day, he still calls me Steve.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool to have that kind of connection and that relationship with the teacher, especially a first-year teacher, here at Lakeland. So that was really cool.
That is good.
Yeah.
Oh, that is good. And I think I've had some good, worthwhile relationships with students over the years too. Just trying to build that bridge, you know what I mean, and stuff. And students of all various types of academic realms, you know what I mean. Some students who are barely on the edge of graduating, some students who have no issues with graduating but are having other types of problems or other issues, that go along in their lives. And I think it's good. When I was a kid, I was in high school, my band director was a big one. I was in band, not here, I didn't go to Lakeland, but Fenton High, class of 96, 30 years ago. But I know, right? Yeah. Mrs. Hayes, she was the shout out to Mrs. Hayes. She was the band director at Fenton at the time, my junior, senior year. And she was awesome for me. She just was super helpful on just being there for somebody to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And just being there for if I needed a shoulder or I needed somebody else who wasn't my mom or dad. It was different. I had a pretty good relationship with my parents, but it's just different. You spend 8 hours a day here. It's a job, even when you're a student, you know what I mean? So to creating those people you see every day, 5 days a week, you know what I mean? And that piece is going to. Mr. Lewis was the assistant principal too. I remember when I was in high school, and he was a really good guy too. For some reason, him and I connected. We connected, and he always used to tell me, he's like, you're always the one student I talk to that I never give detention to. Like, I was like, well, I appreciate that. Like, you know, so we always had a great relationship too, doing different things like that. You said your kids had some good relationships here too. You were talking.
Yeah, they sure did. We lived in Germany for about 3.5 years and returned in 2021 in time for my oldest son, Wes, to be a senior. And in our transition back to the States, we suffered a severe loss of my brother. So that transition and coming back and just even having like almost the reverse culture shock. And
sure,
you know, the boys had been in a ISS kind of school, you know, like that international school. So public school technically wasn't something that they had been in a high school setting yet before.
With the dances and the assemblies and the schedules and different things, right.
Exactly. So Wes really made a connection with Mrs. Miska even before we got here. Got back, she was helping him get ready for advanced English and stuff like that. He was able to make a connection and build a relationship prior to even actually meeting her. And she was so willing to help him and give him the time, even with the time change difference between here and Germany. It was amazing. And of course, Coach Rolando, you know, with his running career and look where he is now.
Right.
So yeah, those two teachers for Wes really came in clutch for him and helped even our entire family through that difficult time in transition.
Yeah.
And with Brady, Mrs. Ailes, Mrs. Bread was just crucial in making sure that he was always well-rounded and had someone to talk to and he had someone to go to. Because truly we did all of us struggled. So knowing that you have someone, a safe person, a confidant, a friend, somebody with a big heart that's patient with you and can help build your confidence, it's a game changer.
Well, and it's hard, especially in your situation, and I'm sorry about your situation there when you're on your transition back, but like you guys were hurting too at home, so it was hard sometimes for your kids to approach you and talk about things when you're also feeling the same, you know, way like that. So it's good to have this connection in an off-site location that they go to all the time and every day, and that somebody they see every single day, you know, to be able to build that connection to help build their, you know, just their stamina and their culture and their, you know, self-esteem, all those things as it goes along, which is good. So
our Lakeland family is all very welcoming, and you know, we're very lucky to have the culture here that we do, staff and students.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's a huge part that makes Lakeland what Lakeland is. You know what I mean? Is that ability for staff and students to build, you know, good positive relationships with people and each other. I mean, nobody's perfect. No school's perfect, as we all know. But like, I feel like that's one of the plus sides we have going on here is that there's a lot of ability to do that. And I see students reaching out and building relationships with other students too, who maybe they would not normally do it, you know, those types of programs. And we have programs like Link Crew and things like that are, you know, working on that. We're actively work on building those relationships. Joy Club, you know, different types of programs and stuff like that always play into that whole type of relationship piece, which is good. Relationships are building student relationships, and just relationships are, you know, even adult to adult relationships are important. What do you think is the biggest thing that somebody can get out of building a good positive relationship?
A long-lasting relationship, sure. Seniors that graduated last year, I still keep in touch with them. I've gone to brunch together, and they also have now a rapport with another adult outside of everything, you know, recommendations and suggestions and life advice that maybe they don't want to talk to a parent about or a counselor about. And it's just maybe off the cuff, like, Hollowell, I need a letter of recommendation for this job. How do you think I should go about, or would you mind writing it for me? Right. So by being there and listening and continuing relationships, I think that long-lasting piece is important as well.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, the longevity of it is key, and because people don't just disappear when they walk out the doors of Lakeland High School.
Right.
They're still people, you know what I mean? They still have issues and successes and other things that they want to share or other things they need to go through. And, you know, we're all humans and we all have that same, you know, concept of peace of coming along and trying to help each other, which I think is good. Last question here, just real quick. You know, how do you, you know, I guess I'm trying to word it right here. How do you continue those relationships? Like, how do you continue those positive relationships, or any tips or advice for anybody to keep continuing those positive relationships for the future?
I think personally, I like to participate in things that the kids and the students and the staff are doing. Right. So continuing to attend games or DECA or the play,
Right.
You know,
Sure.
Holiday Hope, leadership, being a part of all of those things. And, you know, Landon Johns just asked me to host the Grammys. So I'm totally stoked about
Fire up that. That's always exciting. That's right.
Yeah, just continuing to be a part of them. So like, Wes had a race out in Kalamazoo,
Okay.
and one of our former students goes to school out there. So we made arrangements and then went to lunch and checked on him and, you know, how was things. And
Right.
so it's fun. It's effortless fun to stay connected.
Yes, I agree. And I think I guess we have kind of sound like a broken record here, but to me, at least I do. But it's important to keep those relationships and to build them. I think over time, I think it's good on both ends of the perspectives, because for students and for teachers, because people are always looking for references, like you said, or people are always looking for other people to look at and lean on, which is good across the board. So
I think it's also important for students to try and make more meaningful connections with any staff member.
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
just don't need to be intimidated or scared or nervous. We're here for you. And that just needs to be like driven home, I think. That kids, you are welcome.
Yes.
Any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and you know, and we just come and ask. Sometimes it takes a little bit of getting out of your comfort zone. You know what I mean? To ask and try to build those relationships and to do it. But we are here for you. And we have resources here for people that we can direct you to certain locations, and we can help you build those relationships, not only between adult and student, but also if you have other issues that are coming, we have resources and things that are available for that. You may not know, like we have information and things that you may not know we have, you know what I mean, that you may find out that may be able to help you and your family in the long run.
Yeah.
So, which is good. So, anything else you want to
No.
add on there too?
Really enjoyed this.
That's fun. That's always a good time to get on the show. I appreciate you coming on the show. By the way, Mrs. Hollowell is the awesome lady that you get when you come in the front door at Lakeland High School. So she always knocks on it. So if you ever get a chance to come in the front door at Lakeland High School, give her a shout out. She'd love to talk to you. So it's always good. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Mr. Rolando.
You are welcome. And thanks to all the listeners out there in YouTube land. And hope everybody has a great week. It's been the Lakeland High School Podcast. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll come back at you next week. Good night.